Shinobi, open your eyes. For the sake of your master.
Hey everyone, it's BlueLizardJello, and welcome back to Everything Possible in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Last time we made our way through Mibu Village and we took out the corrupted monk, and today we're going to be doing a lot of side quests and just kind of some odd jobs before we advance a story. We are actually right at the precipice of getting our very first ending. All we would have to do is go through that door, collect an item, and then proceed over to Ashina Castle. But before we do that, there's a number of things that we can now do because we now have the underwater breathing technique, and that's what we're going to work on right now. Now, for those of you who are more interested in the action than all of the collectibles and the story itself, I will put some timestamps down into the description below where we fight some Headless, because we will be taking out 4 out of the 5 Headless today. Here is the underwater tutorial. We can use right trigger to dive, left trigger to surface, and then we can dash, but we can't use our prosthetics and we can't use our sword arts. So once we're underwater, we can dash, we can attack, we can block, and that is about it. We cannot use any of our grapple hook, we can't use our prosthetic tools. We also can use limited consumables. You can see I can use the healing gourd, I can't use anything else. However, and this is something to keep in mind, especially when fighting the underwater Headless, if you use an item above water, such as a sugar or divine confetti, it does not get cancelled when you jump into the water. So here we are swimming. We do have some man-eating carps over here. Let's go ahead and just get them killed. They do actually some decent damage, but we're not going to be here for too long, so we don't have to worry about it. Amidst all these fallen logs, we have some precious bait. The texture is slimy, and something resembling horns seem to jut out of it. Just the kind of bait the master loves. We're going to want 2 of those for when we get to Fountainhead Palace. You can collect more by farming certain enemies, but we just need the 2 to get the maximum reward. We're going to swim over here to this dam. You can see that there's the bridge where we fought one of those phantom swordsmen. Right there's where we fought Oren. We're just going to hop down the waterfall. It's okay if we take a little fall damage. Once in the water again, dive down. We do have a treasure carp right on the other side of these rocks. There he is. There's the treasure carp scale. As always with the treasure carp, if you miss them, don't worry. Just back off a little bit. They do respond very quickly. Under the water mill, you do that fun little pirouette jump and down into the main lake. And if we had gone to Dojun in the abandoned dungeon before we came here, he would have given us a letter telling us he needs red carp eyes. And you can see just off in the distance there is a carp that has glowing red eyes. He's actually going to look a lot like a treasure carp, but we're going to read the description and learn he's not quite there. Just grabbing a couple of these Litecoin purses while we wait for the carp to come our way. And there we get the red carp eyes. Carp with only eyes that are red cannot become masters. Though they're considered incomplete creatures that lack the ideal number of scales, their eyes are said to be everlasting. The researcher Dojun in the abandoned dungeon wants these eyes to improve his procedure. There's actually an interesting art form in Japan known as senbetsu. This art form is actually the raising and unfortunately the culling of carp in order to achieve the perfect, I say carp, koi carp. They're essentially interchangeable. They're not exactly interchangeable. There's different species, but in layman's terms, they are the same. But senbetsu means you are going to raise and kill off the imperfect carp, or the koi, to ultimately get the perfect koi, which in Sekiro would be essentially the treasure carp. Make sure we're just killing the rest of these man-eating carps. Sometimes it's easiest if you just let them attack you and you block, and then they'll always circle back around and try and kill you. A couple more here, and then over by the piers. A few more. And one more just under the dock here. There we are, and let's go ahead and swim down, because even more importantly than those 2 Litecoin purses, we get a prayer bead, and that actually is our 4th prayer bead, which means we'll be able to increase our vitality and our posture once we get to that next Buddhist idol, which we're going to be heading to right now. And I keep calling Buddha's idol, the sculptor's idol is what we're aiming for. So we're just sprinting past all the villagers here. No big deal, we'll quickly rest to reset this encounter. And a few things we want to do, starting with skills. Ultimately, in this episode, we're aiming for this one right here. This is projected force. I'll talk more about this once we have actually gotten enough points to acquire it. But first we need to unlock the midair prosthetic tool, which is exactly as it sounds. You can use your tools in midair. And then there's the fang and blade, which allows you to use a follow-up attack after certain prosthetic tools, which allows you to either use that tool and the sword at the same time or provides an actual separate attack following the tool. For example, the loaded axe. Once you've used the axe and you use the fang and blade, you will actually swing with both the sword and the axe at the same time, dealing a lot of posture damage. Since I have 3 points, I'm just going to buy the midair prosthetic. And we're not going to get enough skill points naturally in this episode to get projected force, so we'll have to do some farming, but I will show you my favorite mid-game farming spot. Many of you are already going to know about it, but it can get you 1200 XP every 10 to 15 seconds. Next, we're going to enhance our physical attributes, giving us our 7th prayer necklace. An unrivaled sumo wrestler once served a great feudal lord. Dismissed after giving to drink, he fell to a life of brigandry, and so he was dubbed Juzo the Drunkard. We know Juzo from the Hirata estates and the brigands or the thieves that took over the estates. And then finally, we're going to use the Memory of the Corrupted Monk to enhance our attack power. The corrupted monk donned the mask of a fierce guardian deity. Her form was nebulous, appearing as if in a dream. What reason could there have been for guarding the Mibu village cave entrance? Well, we'll learn a little bit more about that when we finally go into the wedding cave. But next, we're going to use our underwater breathing skill to get just a few hidden items. And we're going to start by going to the Ashina Reservoir. So starting at the Ashina Castle, going all the way down to the Ashina Reservoir. Now, had we gone into the cave right behind the corrupted monk idol and picked up the shelter stone that's back there, many of these idols and many of the Ashina Outskirts idols would be blocked off to us. That's why we're holding off on that, so we can go and collect some more loot. And before we actually start going, I do want to get my homeward idol on the hotbar because we're going to be using that quite a lot. We'll just leap of faith here and double grapple over here. If you want a huge amount of XP, just go ahead and stealth blow this warning enemy for 17 XP. And we're just grappling over here. We're going back into the well where we started the game and where we killed that one shinobi. That was an interesting spinning rock. And we're heading into the water here, diving down, and just behind this rock right here, we get a Mibu Balloon of Soul. And the homeward idol is one of the items that we can use while underwater. Back at the Ashina Reservoir idol, we're actually going to do a little bit of backtracking here. And just heading outside, jumping into the water. Again, if we take some fall damage, not the end of the world. All we want to do is start swimming towards this wall that seemingly cannot be passed, except we can swim underwater. Make our way around. You would think there'd be more loot here, but if you want all those treasure carp scales, this is where you're going to want to head. And next we want to head to the Riven Cave. This is the location where we were chased by the Great White Serpent after you had fallen down from the broken bridge. So Sunken Valley Idol, Riven Cave. Immediately turn around. We now have this entire lake that we can explore, and once we're swimming, immediately dive down so we can grab this treasure carp scale. And you can see that an enemy is seeing me. That is a treasure carp, so I'm going to slowly swim towards this cave. I'm going to grab the Yashiriko's sugar, and I'm going to start swimming around. Again, not the end of the world if the carp sees us and we have to respawn it. But if we can stop that from happening, all the better. There's another treasure carp scale. We do have a few man-eating carp and one more treasure carp. I'm going to beeline right towards the treasure carp. There we go. Get the scale and then just slash wildly to get all the man-eating carps. We have an adamantite scrap there, and then right in the center of the lake, we do have a lovely bulging coin purse. A couple more man-eating carps down here. And there we go. Dive straight down, and we'll get the 3 gachin sugar. You know, my favorite sugar. We're going to be sticking in the Sunken Valley. This time we want to go to the Guardian Ape's watering hole. There's one small section that can be rather well hidden that will allow us to pick up our second precious bait. From the idol, you just want to head just slightly to the left, look for the waterfall, jump over the rocks. We do have this pool of water, dive down. And right behind these broken wooden structures, there is our second precious bait. Notice that it mentions the master, as did the red carp eye. So the master is actually a very large, very beautiful carp. We'll see later on once we head to the Fountainhead Palace. The next item we want is going to be in the Hirata Estate. Now, a quick word about this. I'm going to be heading to the Bamboo Thicket Slope. But if you had a hard time getting all the treasure carps while we were first in the Hirata Estates, coming back once you have the underwater breathing technique definitely makes them a little bit easier to get. You can kill almost all of them without it, but sometimes it can be just a little bit finicky. We were able to get all of them except for this one. So we're just going to dive down in this pool. And there it is. There is the final treasure carp scale in the Hirata Estates. And that is going to do it for all of the, what I call the loose loot. In other words, the loot that really has nothing else to it. Now we have some quests that we're going to go after. The first one is we're going to advance the storyline and the potential ending for the Divine Child of Rejuvenation by heading to Senpo Temple. Specifically, we're going to be starting at the temple grounds. Now, depending on whether or not you've killed Genichiro in the Ashina Castle, like we've already done, then the item we're about to collect would either be down in that water, which is where we're going to be heading because we did kill Genichiro, or it would be a monk that you can speak to in the main temple up above. But since we've already killed Genichiro, then instead the tome is going to be down in this pool of water. But you also want to go in this water for another reason. You'll see that here very shortly. But straight down in the middle, we have the Holy Chapter Infested, a book on enlightenment inscribed for the Divine Child of Rejuvenation. For an age I have been blessed by the worm. To be undying is to walk the eternal path to enlightenment. Thus I must become enlightened to understand why I cannot die. It is said the holy dragon's origins were in the west, so I wonder, how did the worm come to be bestowed upon me? As it says, we want to bring that to the Divine Child. But swimming into this cave here, on this statue, we grab another prayer bead that is only 1 of 4, so it'll be a while before we can create our next prayer necklace. And now we're going to be heading to the Inner Sanctum. Before we do this, if you've been following along with this walkthrough step by step, then you have everything you need. If not, there are a few things you need. You need this tome. You also need a persimmon. You will also need the 2 quote-unquote persimmons, which are the 2 serpent viscera, the dried and the fresh. But since we have all those, let's travel, important places, and Inner Sanctum. This is going to be very dialogue and rest heavy. I'm not going to be saying a whole lot about this quest line because it somewhat speaks for itself. I'll add my own little notes in here as I need to.
Oh, Shinobi of the Divine Air, I awaited your return.
This is for you.
What is this?
I found a note saying I should give this to you.
Thank you. I will accept it.
What's wrong?
I still cannot help but detest them. Thank you for visiting.
Although I just noticed I didn't request rice. It's not necessary, but
Divine Air,
you can never have enough rice.
Please,
Thank you.
bless us.
It is a really good restorative
my
consumable, so
gratitude.
might as well
Of
have it on hand.
Thank you for visit.
But now, let's rest. And after every step, we either need to travel somewhere else or we need to rest. That was me trying to advance the panting.
I'm glad you've come. Shinobi of the Divine Air.
What's wrong?
It is nothing serious. More importantly, your rice.
Hold on. You don't look well. Rest.
Yes, I understand.
What can I do?
What?
Is there something I can get you?
Well, then I'd like to eat a persimmon.
All right.
You can either use one of the persimmons you may have picked up along the ground or farmed from the monkeys, or if you completed Kotaro's questline the proper way, which is what I would prefer to do, you would get the taro persimmon and you could give her that as well.
You've come to visit Shinobi of the Divine Air.
I found a persimmon.
Truly? You brought me a persimmon.
Eat.
Yes, thank you. It's sweet and delicious.
Good.
Shinobi, hold out your hand.
But,
No need to hesitate. Hold out your hand.
all right.
A bountiful harvest for you.
And this is the only way that you can actually have two rice at the same time. Now, other than in New Game Plus cycles. But you can only still carry one at a time, so the other one will just be in storage.
I thank you, Shinobi of the Divine Air. The crop is plentiful, thanks to the persimmon you gave me. I ask that you also give some to the Divine Heir of the Dragon's Heritage.
I will.
And we get the rice for Kuro. Rice is precious. I want nothing more than for the Divine Heir of the Dragon's Heritage to get better. Kuro would likely be pleased to receive it. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to be traveling to Kuro's room and give him the rice from the Divine Child. Now, Kuro will either be over here by the incense burner or sometimes found in the library.
Wolf, you're back.
I am. I have something for you, Lord Kuro.
Something for me?
Here.
This? It's rice.
Yes. The Divine Child of Senpo Temple told me to give this to you.
She did? Then I am grateful. This looks like good rice. Each grain glistens.
It is sweet when you bite into it.
Bite? Wolf, rice tastes a lot better when cooked.
My lord,
So do you like sweet things?
I will eat anything.
Which means you don't dislike sweets then. Right. I'll make something nice for you.
Something nice.
You'll have to wait and see.
This entire conversation with Kuro makes me believe that Sekiro isn't playing with a full deck of cards. He eats raw rice. He's very confused when Kuro suggests that you actually cook the rice, and then he simply states that he will eat anything. But like the other steps of the quest, let's just rest, and then those treats from Kuro will be ready.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Wolf. Come now, hold out your hand.
My lord.
We get the sweet rice ball. We actually get two of these. Sweet, sticky rice ball made by Kuro using rice from the Child of Rejuvenation. Slowly grants medium vitality recovery and constant posture recovery over time. Once when the wolf was starving, his father wordlessly handed him a rice ball. It was astoundingly delicious. This one is sure to taste just as good. Now, Kuro wants us to eat one of these in front of him. And you absolutely can, and he'll give you just one unique bit of dialogue, or you can leave, keep both of them for yourself, and you'll get a slightly different bit of dialogue. I'm going to eat one just to please the kid, but know that you only get, I believe, 3 of these per new game cycle. So if you're going to do this, you're wasting 33% of these rather great restorative consumables.
What is...
Sweet, sticky rice balls. I made them with the rice from the Divine Child. Eat it. Don't be shy.
And you can see we can, just like the rice, only hold one at a time. Oh, I'm sorry, you can actually hold up to 3 rice at a time. My apologies. I said you could only hold one, but you can only hold one sweet rice ball. The other one would go in storage. Let's go ahead and eat this.
This is... very good.
That it is. That it is.
And we just wasted that just to hear Kuro say, that it is, that it is. Well, let's head back to the Inner Sanctum and talk yet again to the Divine Child of Rejuvenation.
Did you give the rice to the divine heir?
Yes, he made rice balls out of it.
The divine heir of the dragon's heritage? He made them himself.
Yes, and he was enthusiastic, and I had one. It was very good.
That's good to hear. Oh, I see. He may be the divine heir of the dragon's heritage, but he's still human after all. What am I saying? Of course he is. I am sure he had his doubts about severing immortality as well. Yet even so, it is the path he chose. There is something I would like to ask you, Shinobi of the Divine Heir.
Yes?
What is his name?
Lord Kuro.
Lord Kuro. It has a fine ring to it. I should like to meet him someday.
We're going to rest yet again. And notice that the Divine Child is now missing, and she's actually traveled to the Halls of Illusion to speak with the other potential children of Rejuvenation.
I don't want to lose them. But if I were to choose the path of returning the dragon's heritage, it may come to pass that I would have to leave all of you. Thank you for your kind words. My friends, listen. He is actually quite kind. He gave me this.
Hello?
Oh, Shinobi of the Divine Heir. I didn't hear you come in. It is thanks to you that I've been able to have a deep conversation with my friends.
With the children of the rejuvenating waters?
Yes, there is something I would like to discuss. I believe we should aim not to sever the dragon's heritage, but instead to return it to its rightful place.
Return the dragon's blood?
That's right. The dragon's heritage was set free from its homeland, and it drifted here to Japan. Its power was never meant for this land. Until something is done, it will continue to corrupt the lives of those who encounter it, the dragon's heritage and those connected to it. It is only right that they return home, to the west, to the birthplace of the divine dragon. However, there is one problem. I am unsure of the exact destination.
Who would know?
Perhaps the High Priest of Senpo Temple. Or...
And he is?
He's the founder of Senpo Temple. I wonder how old he actually is. He can be found in a narrow cave, not far from the Inner Sanctum. Shinobi of the Divine Heir.
Yes?
This path differs from that of the one to sever immortality. I do not wish to force my opinion upon you. Should you wish to return the dragon's heritage, then perhaps you should seek out the High Senpo priest.
I'll think about it.
Interesting that he just simply responds with, "I'll think about it." Now, we've seen the priest before. This is the purple robe-clad priest that we saw in a cave quite a while ago, and I had made mention that we'd be coming back there. I'm also curious as to who the other person that may know about returning the dragon's blood is, because the Divine Child says either the High Senpo priest or... but then she never continues that thought. So from here, we can travel by idle or because we have a direct connection with the door right up there back into the temple. We are just going to sprint. We're going to be ignoring just about every enemy except for a few centipedes that are closer to the High Senpo priest. But once again, to get the Holy Chapter infested, there would be a monk right around here if we had not killed Genichiro. So if you've gone into the pool and you don't see it, go ahead and check for an NPC there. Running Serpentine from these twin blade wielded crazy monk. Running past the bare-fisted monk that's right at the bottom of these stairs. and past all the centipedes. We're just going to be dropping down here, taking a little bit of fall damage. Turning around, sliding under this rock slab. On the other side, we'll be double jumping and grabbing onto the ledge right here. And this is where we'll just kill the trio of centipedes, but of course we can just do plunging death blows just by jumping at them. Very simple. And there we have it. Beautiful. Make sure we collect the scent. And here is the item. This only spawns once we've gotten that dialogue from the Divine Child. Holy Chapter, Dragon's Return, Sacred Passage on a Path to Enlightenment. Undying, I pray for the Dragon's Return. Undying, lo, let us wait an age, for the divine air to assimilate the cold dragon tears, for the cradle to consume the pair of serpentine fruits. Let the cradle endure, giving him shelter, granting his return to the west. So mentioning those two serpent viscera. Let's head back to the Divine Child, who's now back in the Inner Sanctum, and tell her what we've learned.
Shinobi of the Divine Air, have you perhaps met with the High Priest of Senpo Temple?
I found him. He was dead.
The High Priest was infested. How could this come to be?
I do not know. However, he left this note.
I will take a look. I see. Consuming 2 persimmons of the serpent will allow one to become a cradle for the Divine Air. This will make it possible to return the dragon's heritage to its homeland. I shall become the cradle.
You're sure of this?
Of course. I am the only surviving divine child of the rejuvenating waters. Death does not come easily to me. Shinobi of the Divine Air, if you wish to take the path to return the dragon's heritage, then bring me 2 persimmons of the serpent.
Where should I begin?
I believe it is said that the liver of a great serpent is stained red like a persimmon.
Now, I've studied a lot of zoology in my life, especially herpetology, the study of reptiles and amphibians, and I've even had the, misfortune of needing to dissect snakes. And I can tell you that while the liver may be red, it looks nothing like a persimmon, or any fruit for that matter, but so be it.
Shinobi of the Divine Air, have you acquired both persimmons of the serpent?
Yes, I've found them.
This shade of red, it is as I expected. A persimmon is an apt comparison.
You're actually going to eat them?
Of course. Doing so will allow me to become a cradle to return the dragon's heritage to its home. However, I hesitate to eat them in front of you. Please come back after some time.
Now, all the steps that we just took can be taken later. In fact, you can pretty much do this up until just about the very end of the game. I'm doing it now just to get it out of the way so we can focus on more story beats and a lot of boss fights that are upcoming. But when we rest one final time, we're gonna find that the doors have been shut and all we can do is listen. Clearly, it's going very well for the Divine Child. After we have made the selection upcoming with the soon-to-be boss fights, and we choose to side with Lord Kuro, we can come back and we can further the questline with the Divine Child. But for now, that's all we can do here. Now we have another somewhat lengthy questline with Dojun in the Abandoned Dungeon, so let's be heading to the Abandoned Dungeon, and the Underground Waterway. And before we start talking to Dojun, by the way, you can actually get this questline without the underwater breathing technique. But if you want to get all the loot, go ahead and dive down. There are some man-eating cars behind me who are a little bit faster than I had anticipated. I wasn't going to kill them, but might as well. Let's grab some light coin purses. And then over here, right before this broken gate, we have a ceramic shard. Swimming through, and then if you want style points, make sure that you actually pirouette out of the water and grapple. It's the only way to do it. We have another Mibu Balloon of Soul. Climbing all the way up, and there is poor Jinzaiman, and yes, Jinzaiman's quest should ultimately end at the Open fight. But because we wanted to see this one specifically, especially because of the loot we get from Dojun, we chose to send him down here. And if you want to talk to him to see how he's doing, about as well as the Divine Child, I would reckon. We have 5 pacifying agents here, and here we have Dosaku's note, an old note left by the surgeon Dosaku. My disciples have abandoned me for Dogen. Remember, this is Emma's mentor. Unwilling to dirty their own hands, they all left me for that hypocritical quack. Dojun, my last disciple, even if I die, the research must continue. Finish the procedure for Ashina's sake. Dosaku. We'll probably be learning a little bit more about that Dosaku-Dojun relationship in this questline. Also, absolutely disgusting, just all these writhing maggots coming out of this barrel. But we can now open the cell from the inside, and let's get this dialogue from Dojun.
It's about time I embarked for the facility as well. You have performed your role most admirably. My master and I now have work we must complete.
And this, just like the last quest, is going to be quite the case of resting, talking, and talking. So let's rest. And just because I don't want to deal with those enemies, or I don't want them chasing me, I should say, I'm going to switch to the flame vent. Otherwise, you have to kill these enemies twice, not the crickets, but these humanoid enemies. Let's kill them with fire and our sword. And now we can go up to the cell and we can eavesdrop on Dojun.
How is this, Master Dosaku? If we were to use a strong, well-trained samurai like him... Yes, it should work. Begin preparations. Yes, sir. Preparing the rejuvenating water. For the glory of Ashina. We begin, my apprentice. Yes, Master Dosaku.
And as you can see, the only 2 people in the cell are Dojun and Jinzaiman. Jinzaiman is not the one speaking. So this is our first clue that Dojun and Dosaku are actually one and the same. Now, whether or not they've always been the same person, kind of up for interpretation. Let's rest. And once again, just sprinting back, quickly killing the enemies along the way. Probably some crickets on my tail.
It's not human.
And there are. Don't want to actually anger Dojun.
It's not human. Not anymore. Ah, my dear Shinobi.
What's wrong?
It's nothing. For you. From the Master.
And he gives us the surgeon's stained letter, a tattered, blood-covered note written by Dosaku, the surgeon in the abandoned dungeon. At the bottom of the Mibu village pond, you will find a sakura carp. You will know it from its red eyes, which are said to never rot. I require those red eyes. Dosaku.
We request your assistance once again. Ah, my dear Shinobi. Ah, my dear Shinobi. Did you bring what we requested?
Yes.
Indeed, you have obtained it. With this, the treatment can be advanced. I'm sure the Master will be ecstatic, even if I am not. Try as I might, I'm unable to muster the same level of enthusiasm.
Dojun, you novice.
Ah, fret not, dear Shinobi. I will perform my duty for the glory of Ashina. Your reward, dear Shinobi. Please accept it with our thanks.
And we get 2 lumps of grave wax, which at this stage of the game is very, very welcome. And before we go and rest again, let's exhaust the dialogue.
With this, we can advance the treatment further. Master, I'll bring it immediately.
And let's make sure we suck up any loot that might have dropped. We're going to rest yet again, and then we're going to talk about the next steps, because if you do this in a different order, you could find yourself fighting 2, well, not overly difficult enemies, but Jinzaiman and Dojun. But if you do it the way I'm about to show you, you'll only fight 1 at a time. looks like the crickets are pretty far away. And now, notice we can eavesdrop on Dojun, but Jinzaiman is no longer there.
Oh, Master Dosaku. What on earth? What? Surely you don't intend to use that on me. Very astute, my apprentice. You are the next subject. Please, no! As I feared, you have strayed from the path of medicine. Why would you do such a thing? No, Master. The rejuvenating waters have bewitched you. Master, please answer me. Please, answer me, Master. Why? Why would you answer me? Answer me, Dosaku! Dosaku! Please, answer me, Master! Why? Why would you answer me? Answer me, Dosaku!
So at this point, if we were to rest, now that we have eavesdropped and we've talked to him, we would be fighting both Jinzaiman and Dojun in the upcoming area. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a Gachin's sugar. Now, I have had this work and I've had this fail. I'm hoping that it's going to work. Otherwise, it's not an overly difficult fight. Fighting Jinzaiman is just like fighting one of the elite swordsmen in Ashina Castle, so they will do a lot of the thrust attacks. He also seems to have some of the general's attacks, so he'll do one of the jump plunging attacks, but all fairly easy to block. And then if he ever backs up to try and regain his posture, just close in quickly with a sword strike, or better yet, use a shuriken. But for now, we're just going to see if we can get a sneak attack using a Gachin sugar, hopping into the water, diving on down, swimming through this gate, and then surfacing right when we can here. We want to grab this ledge, which is sadly sometimes more difficult than it ought to be. There it is. There's Jinzaiman. Let's crouch. And we should be able to walk right up next to him, wait for the death blow. There it is. And that's it for poor Jinzaiman, who became a horrible, horrible subject for Dojun's experiments. But we do get yet another red lump. Now the red lump in combination with the rice, or better yet, the sticky rice balls or the sweet rice balls, makes for an incredible tanking situation that we will definitely be playing with later on. And now, we should be able to go and fight Dojun. Dojun, even easier than our good friend Jinzaiman, but just to try and make it work again, it's kind of hit or miss whether or not it does work. And he's actually not there. I apologize. It looks like you do have to rest and then talk to him yet again. So that is bad note-taking on my part. That's all right. Let's just rush up here. Make sure we kill these just so they're not bugging us on the way over. Bugging us, get it?
Answer me, Dosaku. Master, why won't you answer me? Dosaku. Dosaku. Dosaku.
I guess the thing to remember there is if he is screaming, he's not quite ready to face you yet. As long as he's calm about it, you're good to go. Now I still have the sugar active. I'm sure it's not going to be enough time, but that's okay. We're just going to go with it. Otherwise, Dojun is just like fighting one of the bare-fisted monks, although with a few more tricks up his sleeve. You can see him over there in the distance. You even get to see him without his helm on. Now, one thing I didn't show off with Jinzaiman is that because they have red eyes, they are also very susceptible and very afraid of fire. So we'll just use floating passage, get some good free damage, back up, wait for him to come to us. Oh, okay, that still got him a little bit nervous. Let's run away. Float passage yet again. And if you want to run to us again, no? Okay. Well, he's afraid nonetheless. Oh, missed it. Alright, we should be able to get him pretty easily here. And there we have it.
Master, I've failed you.
And that is it for the Dojin quest, and we get the Academic's Red Lump. Now, you get a description for the Red Lump, you get a description for the Red Lump that comes from Jinzaiman, although it doesn't say much else. Then you get a different one from the Academic's Red Lump. Dosaku and Dojin were the quintessential master and disciple. Often when pursuing the ideal self, one need only look within. Now, to me, that suggests that they have always been one and the same, and at some point in time, they suffered either some sort of trauma, whether physical or psychological, and they had a split personality, and thus we got the master and the disciple. But that is it for the different quests that we're going to do other than the Headless. But before we take them on, I want to make sure we get projected forest, so now it's time to farm. I'm going to be heading to the Hidden Forest Idol to do some really quick farming. I'm going to show the run a couple times, and then I'll do the rest of it off camera. So we're going to be heading to the Ashina Depths, Hidden Forest Idol. To do this, I'm going to set up the following. I'm going to change my flame vent for the simple loaded shuriken, and I'm also going to use a couple of balloons. And the only reason I'm doing this is simply because while we're farming these enemies, they have a chance to drop spirit emblems, which is pretty common, but they also can drop Yashiriko's sugar. They do not drop any money though, so you don't want to use the Mibu Balloon of Wealth. But the Possession Balloon and the Balloon of Spirit are definitely two that you can use to pretty good effect. And before we head over there, all we're going to do is zip over to that grapple point. We're going to backstab the Phantom Nightjar that appears, and then immediately I'm going to shuriken the next one that appears further on in that clearing, and then using the Chasing Slice ability to get it nice and close and just really mash R1 until he goes down. Rinse and repeat, and each one is worth 620 experience, at least with the Demon Bell equipped. So, use the Possession Balloon, the Balloon of Spirit, and let's go. Just stay still, wait for the reticle. Chasing Slice. You can also use the Floating Passage here. It's unfortunate when he starts to block like this, but if you just keep mashing, you'll get it eventually. And that's it. Rinse and repeat. So you can see there 1200 experience and I mean maybe 10-15 seconds at most. It's the best mid-game farm that I have found, and I'm sure many of you have also found it. Just use that Chasing Slice to get him right backed up against a corner. And there we have it. So you can see it's not going to take very long at all, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, but I'm going to do the rest of that off camera, and I'll see you when it's time to buy Projected Force. And there we have it. 3 skill points that took 11 runs and about 4.5 minutes. Not too bad at all for this stage of the game with how many skill points we've already collected. So while we're here, let's go head over to the prosthetic arts. We're going to grab Fang and Blade, and now we want Projected Force. After using certain prosthetic tools, it allows one to draw the power of that tool into the sword and release it in a forward direction. The specific attack changes depending on the tool used. So you can see that it's applicable to the Loaded Umbrella, which is what we'll be using it for, and the Finger Whistle. So you can see the Finger Whistle cause a whistling sound at the target location. The Loaded Umbrella, however, stores energy by blocking enemy projectiles and then discharges it. It's incredibly useful, and it can be very beneficial against the Headless. So I want to show off a few different ways of attacking and killing the Headless. Remember, we can kill 4 out of the 5 right now. The 5th is going to be later on in the Fountainhead Palace. But before we take them on, we need one more bit of loot before we can upgrade our Finger Whistle, which is going to be one of the ways in which we kill the Headless. So let's head to the Ashina Castle, the Ashina Outskirts stairway. Talk to Aniyama. And from the idol, just hop on down. Say hello to Kotaro.
Greetings! Go on.
And what we need is just a single scrap magnetite. We only need 4 We have 3, so for 300 sen, let's buy one of those.
Until next time.
And since we're already here, might as well use up some of our coin purses. We need 1500 sen to upgrade the Malcontent version of the finger whistle, so let's use both of these. And then we can use our homeward idol to head back to the dilapidated temple. Now, as I approach the sculptor, we do have 2 drinks that we could give to some of the NPCs, especially the sculptor. Because of how quest heavy this episode has been, we're going to hold off on that probably till the next episode.
You need...
Present our Shinobi prosthetic. We're going to upgrade, and we want the Malcontent. This is going to allow us to bother and torment apparition type enemies, which of course include the Headless. Very, very useful indeed. Remember, we had to get the Malcontent by killing the Shishiman warrior in the Guardian Ape's Den, excuse me. And he does have just a little bit of unique dialogue because the Kingfisher was his friend where they used to practice in the valley.
Listen, that finger whistle I've fixed onto your arm. I'm sure it'll play a somber but enjoyable tune. Make sure you use it well.
And now we're ready to take on the 4 out of the 5 Headless. Now, interestingly enough, the Headless are not just some nameless creature. They're going to represent the 5 sugars: Akko, Ungo, Gokun, Gachin, and Yashiriku. And once we kill them, we're going to get a unique item from each of them that allows us to get the effects of the sugars for spirit emblems instead of a consumable, which can be nice in case you happen to run out either on your person, you still have some in storage, or if you run out completely and don't feel like farming it, especially for Yashiriko, which can be in rather short supply. The first one I'm going to be taking out is the underwater Headless, which can be found in the waterways just outside of Ashina Castle. So, to take him on, let's travel to the Ashina Castle, specifically the Great Serpent Shrine, and we'll just do a little bit of backtracking. From the shrine, all we're going to do is turn around and do a little bit of backtracking. Yes, there'll be a couple of monkeys that if you want to take out, you are more than welcome to. But they are not a problem for us. We're just going to run right past. We are going to take out some of the soldiers here, just so we can prepare. Definitely get a backstab there, but hopefully we can get one on this enemy. Just make it a little bit easier to take out the rifle. Completely unnecessary flowing water. And from here, this is where we are going to jump into the water. Now, there is an item actually just over here that we don't want to forget about. And there are some more items over by the Headless, who is going to be right kind of in the center of that pond. You can see there are some man-eating carps, but let us set up our consumables. We do want to have our healing gourd, of course. We are also going to have the modeled purple gourd, which will reduce our terror buildup. We are also going to have on us the Yashiriko's sugar. Now remember, this is going to give us a massive attack boost, but we're going to lose half of our vitality and posture. And then we also want the divine confetti. Now the underwater one, I'm going to explain his attacks. He really only has a few, but one of the ones that's kind of problematic is he kind of whips his head around, or what used to be his head, and these little sprites, these little tendrils, will chase you around, and they do home pretty well. So we need to actually dash either to the left or to the right, typically to the right, in order to avoid them before we go in and attack. So let us use Yashiriko's and divine confetti. Get the healing gourd ready. Actually, let's get the modeled purple. Dive down and get into the Headless as soon as we can. So here is that attack where we just have to go around, wait till it kind of dissipates, and what we're looking for is this right here. And then if you dash in, don't get greedy here with the attacks. 1 or 2 is plenty, but once he does that, you can also dash back in for a couple of attacks. This one, as soon as he does that little black hole looking thing, just get 1, maybe 2. But again, the trick here is just don't get greedy. Just dash in. Now you can see Yashiriko's unfortunately is already dissipated. Okay, we got the stuns. We got a couple of extra attacks. Wait for the big swing. Back up. We actually have a really, really good rotation going on right now. And there is the first Headless. He only has a single death blow. And we get Ungo's Spirit Fall. Consume spirit emblems to use repeatedly. Headless are the ruined form of corrupted heroes who once fought for their country. This warrior lost his mind in defense of the state. His attempted mutiny was met with a swift beheading, and the lifeless body sunk to the bottom of the moat. So we have some heavy coin purses surrounding him. Over in the distance here, we can replace our Yashiriku's sugar. Man-eating carpets following us, but we're just going to backtrack just a little bit over behind this wall and grab a Mibu possession balloon, actually a couple of them. And I probably should have had my Homeward Idol still equipped, because now we're going to be heading to the Sunken Valley to take out the next Headless. And we're just going to be taking the very first idol, the Undershrine Valley. From here, we're going to turn around. Don't really need much stealth here because we are at the point where just mashing R1 is going to be enough to take these enemies out pretty quickly. Unless we, of course, decide to get hit there. But get our health back with a death blow. Now, we went this way previously for a prayer bead. But because we have advanced the event of the story as well as advanced the time of day, there are going to be some elite swordsman phantoms that appear. Frankly, there's no reason to kill them. They do still give 620 experience just like the Nightjar, but they are a lot harder to kill, especially because there are 3 of them. So instead, we're just going to hop down, ignore those spirits that appear, and just hop right into the water. We're diving down. Fortunately, this Headless is not underwater. Actually, to be honest, the last Headless is the easiest of the 4 we'll be fighting. And you can see him over there in the distance. Now, for this one, I am going to be using Projected Force with the Phoenix's Lilac Umbrella. The combination of the Phoenix's Lilac Umbrella and Projected Force allows us to attack with nothing more than the umbrella itself. It is still a little bit dangerous. You have to be a little bit cautious in order to find a good opening to use it, because if he's in the middle of a combo and you try to use a follow-up attack, then you can find yourself in a lot of trouble. But what we're going to do is we're going to put the umbrella out. He cannot damage us at all. And then as soon as we have an opening, we will press the R1 to unleash the Projected Force. I do still have the model Gourd on us. I am going to use... I will be using Yashiriko's again, actually, just to give us that extra bit of damage. And I think that's it. We aren't going to need Divine Confetti because all of our attacks are strictly going to be coming from, oh, I know what I wanted, are strictly going to be coming from the umbrella. But I do want the Ceremonial Tanto, which is way, way up at the top, because we want those extra spirit emblems. And actually, I should have... Okay, we're good there. So, let's run on up. And you can see here, he is still doing posture damage. Oh, and that was a really, really bad move. Oh, run, run, run. We actually need to now heal up our terror. Not going great. That's all right. Let's try and make this work. When he does this, he is going to disappear. So you want to sprint away, even though you can't go very quickly. If you can get behind him, that's going to be the best case scenario. Just keep holding right trigger and you'll continue to pull the umbrella out as soon as you can. Okay, so now we've dissipated the smoke, so we got a good stun there. As soon as we get the first death blow, we will be able to heal up. And we'll also have another resurrection in our hands. Okay, so because he's done that, he's going to disappear and come back at us. Oh, unfortunately left let go of the umbrella. But just get behind him. There is death blow number 1. Like I said, we're going to heal up. Now, if we need to, we could use the Tanto again. But we're just going to nice and slowly... Okay, so he's going to disappear. So I think we will actually use the Tanto. Heal up. Oh, careful now. Just hold this in. Oh, and I let go. I was going to try and get an attack there. I really should not have. Use our purple gourd. Circle around. Good damage. Alright, he's going to disappear, so let's not risk it. Let's just run away. You can get lucky and sprint behind him. That way you can get a free attack without him even hitting you at all. Big hit, and he's going to disappear, so we gotta run, run, run. So this is not the best execution of this tactic. It is rather safe as long as you don't try and get greedy. Okay, he's gonna disappear. We're gonna use this opportunity to run away and heal that terror. See if we can get around him for the attack. There it is. And unfortunately, we're getting this a lot. So we're gonna have to use the Tanto. Oh, careful, don't get grabbed. We will need this Tanto again in order to... Oh! I'm gonna be honest, I've never seen that attack before in my life. I did not know he could do that jump attack. Okay, we almost have him though. Just run away, try and sprint behind him. And one more attack's gonna do it. And there we have it. Not the best fight I've ever had. But for killing this one, we get the Goken Spirit Fall. Dedicated burial mounts quietly appease the spirits with severed heads, though none call upon them for long. Now, if you haven't played Sekiro in a long time, or in quite a while, there was a patch that made it so the Spirit Falls now last for as long as the sugar itself. That was something that people complained about, that the sugars actually lasted longer than the Spirit Fall, so they did update that to make that the same. So we have a lump of grave wax, and then right behind here, we get a divine grass as well. Next, we're going to be heading to the first Headless that we ever ran into, which is in Ashina itself. So we're going to be traveling to the Underbridge. So from the idol, we'll travel to the Ashina Outskirts, the Underbridge Valley. And to get to where we want to go, a little bit of backtracking is required. Not worrying about any enemies that may or may not see us, so we're just going to run around here. We've already gone this way before. This is actually how we got to the Bell Demon very early on. There's the note about the Headless. Jump over, leap of faith, make sure you are holding the grab button. Shimmy on over. And frankly, as I said, that was not the greatest example of the Phoenix's lilac umbrella method. This next one, though, is actually the more difficult to pull off, in my opinion. This is actually something that I learned from a channel. I believe he calls himself the... Oh, a little bit of weird glitching there. I believe he calls himself the Sekiro Guru. I think it's Tyrannicon. I'll put a link to his video in the description below. He actually has some really good tutorials, and he calls this the demonic two-step shuffle. And basically, all you do is you stay behind him at all times. You use, I think he uses Akko's. We're going to try to use Yashiriku's sugar and Divine Confetti, and you just never let him get off an attack. So, we don't need the Ceremonial Tanto. We do, however, want Divine Confetti. And the idea is we're not going to use those consumables just yet. What we're going to do is get his attention and then wait until we're actually down here, because we want him to join us all the way down here. Hopefully he's going to... Oh, nope, that's not good. Nope, that's not good at all. He's supposed to travel down here. We may have just wasted his sugar. And there we go. So now what we want to do is try and get right behind him. And see, this is a problem. He's right up against the wall. But now he's going to travel. That's good. So the idea is that with this smoke, if you just get right behind him, you can get 2 attacks and then sprint and just stay behind him and get grabbed, and this is going to be a death. Oh, no. Just a whole lot of damage. Right, so this is something I should have practiced more clearly. But eventually, if you can get enough hits, then the smoke is going to dissipate. And one thing that he says, oh, and my confetti ran out, that's a problem. Luckily, you can kind of get it on the fly here. Okay, just block that. Oh. Let's heal up both the terror and the vitality. Okay, that's perfect. This is a fight, though, that even the video I watched definitely says is better if you do not lock on, and I could not agree more. So it's not that difficult. It's just a matter of getting the timing right. And we really need him away from that wall. So we're just going to do a couple of hits. Even one, if you that's all you can muster. And this is going to be a chance for... Oh, actually he did not attack, which is surprising. This is also why I waited until I had a lot more damage. Okay, there's some free damage. We need to run away and reapply. Uh-oh. That somehow worked out shockingly well. So run behind. Okay, he's going to disappear. This is actually a good opportunity for us to just run away. Get behind him. And there it is. Once you learn it, it actually works really, really well. And we get the Akko's Spirit Fall. Seize the power of an inhuman spirit by laying it to rest, but risk going quite mad unless something is offered in return. So, again, I should have practiced that a little bit more, but you can see the demonic 2-step shuffle works very, very well. But the next method is just, honestly, maybe even too easy, as long as it goes well. So we're going to be heading to the Hidden Forest for the 4th and final Headless of today's episode. We're going to be going to the Sunken Valley, the Ashina Depths, and the Hidden Forest, just like when we were doing the farming. Now this is kind of a high risk, high reward scenario. We still want Yashirikus, we still want the Divine Confetti, but instead of the Lilac Umbrella, we're going to be using Malcontent. Malcontent works very, very well, but it only works, I believe, 3 times on any given Headless. After that, they do not respond to it anymore, but they get stunned for quite a while. So here's all we're going to do. First off, I gotta get a little bit closer. We're just going to use Malcontent when we're relatively close, and then we're going to go and we're just going to mash R1 after we've applied our Divine Confetti and Yashiriku's sugar. And the reason we're going to mash is, with my tests, I found that even using double Ichimonji, using the flowing water, nothing seemed to do the damage I wanted apart from just spamming R1 once those were applied. As long as we get the timing down, we can actually knock the smoke, the terror fog that surrounds him away, which gives us a huge opportunity to stun. We might even be able to get a single death blow on him before he has a chance to attack. So let's do Yashiriku's, Divine Confetti, and there we go, and just mash. There it is, there's the stun, and there's the death blow without him doing anything to us at all. And Once again, the problem is we're not going to get the stun here from the smoke. And that is just about it. But that's it. It is that fast. It is actually broken how easy it is, and that's the reason why I didn't kill the Headless earlier. I wanted to see just how effective the right technique against the Headless can be. Malcontent, Divine Confetti, Yashiriku's, just time those attacks right, and yes, I did take a hit, but my goodness, that was fast. Headless are the ruined form of corrupted heroes. I'm falling to pieces, said the man to himself, drifting deep into the forest. So we get the Gachin's Spirit Fall. Well, the last thing that we're going to do is actually head back to the Corrupted Monk Idol, the Wedding Door Idol, and finally collect the Shelter Stone, because in the next episode, we have a number of boss fights right at the beginning of the episode, and we finally get to start selecting which ending we'll be pursuing. So right behind us, this is the Wedding Cave. Rather aptly named because in the back, we have a well-adorned palanquin. Remember, we saw palanquin very early on when we first encountered one of the white serpents, but it was very plain. This one has been well decorated, well adorned, and we will be coming back here when it's time to go to the Fountainhead Palace. But over on this altar, we get the Shelter Stone, a stone found on an altar deep within the village of the Water Dwellers. Stones will sometimes appear in the bodies of those who have long drank from the Fountainhead waters. Step into the marital shrine and offer the fragrant, auspicious stone, one of the incense ingredients sought by the divine heir for immortal severance. The last one being the fragrant branch, which we have not seen yet, and we're going to have to be collecting that next time. Shelter stones such as this are an auspicious omen, sweetly scented for a bridal offering. The palanquin awaits with open arms. But let's head back to the idol and see what has changed. If we try to travel, you can see Kuro's room is blocked off. Okay, the outskirts are actually clear, but everything other than the abandoned dungeon entrance is now completely locked out to us. But we'll be tackling that mystery next time. I hope you learned something in this episode, and if you did, love it if you left me a comment and let me know what you learned, and if I missed something, or if you have a better strategy for the Headless, you probably do, leave that below as well so we can all keep learning. But I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.